Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
Press that button. We're recording. We're recording the episode of the show that we're on right now.
Talking.
Rolling.
Okay.
Air Raid remix, right? Was that it? No, yeah.
Rolling.
It was the Air Raid remix
What's the Air Raid remix?
of Roland. That's the one that they did the video at the Twin Towers for, right? Yeah. That's what it's called.
Welcome to the Chapo Trap House episode for Indigenous Peoples Day.
Oh, yes.
We will be talking about the Air Raid Siren remix.
Of Roland.
The only version of Roland that replaces all the original backing vocal tracks with Air Raid sirens to satisfy people who are in the Air Raid siren community, who have been tracking the evolution of sound efficiency, range, and something that they call coning, an audio phenomenon only existing in Air Raid sirens.
Air raid sirens, as far as autistic fixations go, are one of the more interesting ones to me, and one I could imagine getting into, because the classic air raid siren, it's an analog instrument. It's not. It is.
You can crank it with a.
It's a
yeah,
crank. Like
it's a crank.
you just pull a crank and it makes this hugely loud noise. How does it do that? What's going on? How does it do that? I don't know. I would like to find out.
Well, it's everyone knows about Dybbuk's and golems. Those are the two basic Jewish monsters and creatures of lore.
That's true.
This is Felix's new interest.
Yeah.
So we're launching a new Felix interest this week. It's Jewish folklore.
I've always been into
this. Is this a slippery slope, though? Are we gonna have a bar mitzvah when you turn 33?
No. I did a different thing. There's actually a lot of lore about this. Dybbuk's. Well, like there is a Yu-Gi-Oh type thing that happens between all the factions of Jews, and of course they get the golem. That's the oldest one. Reform Jews, who are more typically represented in finance, media, and like the college professions, right? We're in those. We get the Dybbuk. It's a more complicated monster. What do you get if you're a conservative Jew, which is sort of like in the middle? Oftentimes you can have an email job if you're a conservative Jew, but sometimes it's like, I work for a nonprofit called the Judaism Center, Well,
you wear a yarmulke, but not to the beach.
Yeah. They get the mentaculus, and there's a variety of monsters that you can cast out of there. So they're sort of a hybrid class.
Yeah, it's the Necronomicon of Judaism.
Yeah. And we've been there are underground monster duels between all the factions of Judaism, and the Reform have been the strongest. The Dybbuk is a very strong monster, but there's a fourth monster, and it's just a little guy, and he's the guy in the Air Raid siren. And when you crank the handle, it grinds up like little treats for him. And if he gets enough crumbs, he'll make the Air Raid noise. And there are several different types of this little guy. That's why all of them sound different.
The Dybbuk is a good battle monster because for the damage it deals out, it restores HP on itself.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a siphon effect.
Yes.
It's very good. You clearly grew up on the Upper West Side. Familiar with these battles that go on.
Yeah, this is not IP that I grew up with at all.
I'm not familiar with this IP.
Yeah.
There were none of these in Manitowoc.
No, Manitowoc. Nope. No Dybbuk's
The golem's a classic strength build, but it's not very versatile.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you get a really good golem can beat an average Dybbuk, but like if the average Dybbuk has a very good trainer, the Dybbuk's probably going to win.
Yep.
That's just obvious.
Oh, welcome, friends. It's Monday, October 10th. Start things off. I'll say thanks again to everyone who came out to our LA show. It was a triumph.
Wonderful.
Thanks to LA Witch, Tim Heidecker, and candidate Hugo Soto Martinez. We gave him his biggest audience.
His biggest orifice.
It was his biggest office in a way. His biggest audience about a month before Election Day. So,
well, I mean, I'm sure that was good fun for him, but it's not. I don't think it's been anywhere as near as fun as the last couple of hours have been. The last
LA
day and
City
a half.
Council is killing
God.
it.
Wow.
That was like literally like 10 hours after our show. Yeah.
And the recordings are 10 hours of unedited.
Those recordings are awesome. They're so good. I like how often on those recordings there are like it's like classic filmmaking. There's so many times where it's like you're like, oh, are they on the verge of saying something really awful? And then they just jump right in. They're like, oh, his kid's a monkey. It's like, oh, holy shit.
What they say? They said Mike Bunnan's kid is being raised like a.
He's being raised like a white kid. You can't do that with
Yeah.
black kids. That was the implication.
Yeah. And then Matt, as you said, they're really stepping in it because they were going after Armenians in L.A. They said one guy has one eyebrow, and it's like, I don't know
what's his name last? I would not know what his name was.
IAN.
Let me guess. It ends with IAN.
I listened.
They do be loving that. I have to say, the Armenians.
Yeah, they love. Yeah, no, they're not giving that up. I did listen to the Armenian tape, obviously, and they were actually that was one of the few tapes where like they liked the guy they were talking about.
But they still had to mention.
Well, they still had to like make fun of him for being Armenian, but like they were talking about, the guy in the tape with the nasal voice. I forget what his name is because I've blocked everyone who's tried to tell me about local politics. I'm not finding out. The guy who like when the Kevin De Leon and Nuri whatever when they're trying to be, he's always trying to steer it back. He's like, yeah, but like the gerrymandering we have to do. Or like
enough of this, Ron. Right. We got to fix these elections.
He's like, guys, this is really funny, but we have to do election fraud.
We have to gerrymander Nithya Raman's district out of existence so that we don't have to deal with her anymore.
So he was like, he was talking about how like some like LA politics scumbag has helped him out in the past and how they like this guy, and they're all like, yeah, we like this Armenian guy, but his eyebrows are ugly. He's Armenian.
Eyebrow.
Yeah, his eyebrow.
It's always so comforting when stuff like this happens because it lets you know that at least at a certain level, it's exactly what you think it is. Like you're not really learning anything. That's the funny part when this stuff happens. Like, oh, what are they doing? Doing corruption? Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. Not any more complicated than that.
Yeah, it shows that Veep in some ways is like still idealistic because it shows these people as like more clever than they actually would be.
Exactly. It's like they're doing the Veep stuff, but with none of the snappy zingers and shit.
But they're also just being straight up. Like on Veep, they were verbally abusive, and the creativity of the writing was like how to go with a way other than just someone's ethnicity.
Yeah,
they're way too likable.
Because, frankly, folks, that's the lazy track.
Yeah.
That's what the mediocre mind does. And these are the most mediocre minds on earth. And that is why a show like Veep is kind of propaganda for the regime. And the reason that Joe Biden liked it is because, you're showing them as vacuous and evil, but also look how clever they are. Look how funny they are and how attractive they are relative to the actual dishwater, the dishwater dough. Selena Meyer. My God. Well, how to
Julie Louis-Dreyfus has gotten comprehensively hotter the older she's gotten, and I'm saying like Elaine, all-time dime. Selena Meyer, ooh boy.
I think part of that boils down to us getting farther away from '90s fashion. I think that was
hair.
a big thing that hurt Elaine. The hair, but who just knows? As we say, the culture is snapping back. We'll get to the '90s if we haven't already, and maybe. We'll look back and be like, damn, Elaine was fire in that fit.
Think of Selena Meyer's body count, though. She was
guys on
Hugh Laurie, John Slattery, Chris Maloney. Those are just the three that come to mind.
She fucks Dan.
That's true. Yes, she does. And then fires him the next day.
Yeah.
The Mohammed bin Sultan guy.
Oh, what a babe.
Yeah. But that the reality, they're not even that good. They're not even that interesting.
I don't think it's. I think Joe Biden liked. I think like that's not. He didn't go like, oh, I'm going to internalize all the bad things I've ever done. He just like saw a show and like got 1/3 of the jokes and was like, oh, hey, I've done that job. Haha. I don't think I like that show too much to call it regime propaganda.
I think it's great. And it is also regime propaganda. I don't think you can separate the two. Frankly.
I don't. Well, no. Okay, if that's regime propaganda, then like everything is.
Well, there you go. Boom.
Okay. Well,
Welcome to the Adorno
that's
hole.
one way of looking at things. I guess.
Welcome to the Adorno hole.
Yeah.
You've been Adorno hole.
Yeah.
It's all fascism.
Yeah.
Damn. But that's the thing. Because that's true, I can evaluate it on a completely separate axis. Is it funny and do I enjoy it? Yes and yes. It's good.
Is Terminator 2 propaganda?
I mean, Cameron's always interesting, but like at a certain point, anything that's that big and that you all, it all gets knitted into a narrative of like reassurance that the system you live in is in some way just because it produces it.
Yeah, what's the least propagandistic film? Is it like a Uwe Boll film? Like, is it like the Postal movie where there's just like no plot and he's like, oh, here's a new character I invented, a guy who's his dad.
I mean, have you seen Assault
Ari
on Wall
Aster's
Street
movie.
by Uwe Boll, by the way?
Wait, what?
Have you ever seen Assault on Wall Street by Uwe Boll?
Yes.
Or the not the first one, but the sequel to Rampage, where he takes hostages at a TV station.
No.
Uwe Boll, after the '08 crash, decided like I'm going to basically be like if Ted Kaczynski made movies, and that's like literally a guy like just reciting statistics about about like who made money off after the financial collapse, and then just shooting a room full of bankers. It is like, and yet it has incited no copycat shootings. For some reason, that never sparks a flame in the real world. Is the media present?
Yeah, because
The address
because
of the
like,
corporate headquarters of
Yeah.
Oxford United Healthcare is.
well, yeah, because like the type of person who commits murders in America is always like
Yeah,
that's
Yep,
really
yep.
like that's like if you look at like murders in other countries, it's always like a fucked up guy who's like of at least average intelligence, like the German guy who
Dude, most suicide bombers have advanced engineering degrees.
yeah. Whereas in America, it's usually guys who like we talked about how like most murders are just like a guy killing his wife because he can't figure out who gets what Blu-rays. But that's like most murderers in America, and even when like they have been abused and their life has been ruined by like powers beyond them that you think they could understand, like health insurance or like their job or something, they're like, oh, I'm going to kill like just 9 versions of me.
well, that's just it. Is that murder is an intimate act, and people who are going to respond to the horrors of their life violently are going to want to do it, as you said, because they're intimately, because they're not going to be able to attach like real visceral emotionality to some abstract enemy. It's got to be somebody who triggers something deeper in them, which is why they love doing it for reasons, for example.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, what is the least intimate industrialized country on earth? It's Japan, the only country where they actually killed like a guy that
Yeah,
you
exactly. Because it all gets concentrated into one guy who's like, who needs to die for this, and correctly recognizes,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's the puppet master of the deep state like NATO, like right wing Christian propaganda lodge that runs this fucking country.
Yeah.
And I'm going to commit my will not to buying an AR-15 on the internet with a credit card I'm not going to pay back. But instead, I'm going to build a fucking science fair volcano myself to blow this asshole away. And then what happens? He actually gets like a change at a meaningful level. Whereas what do? Just a bunch of dumbasses who order. I want to satisfy all of my my deepest failures and express all of my pain by just having them Amazon send me a gun in the mail so I could just shoot somebody who triggers like the deepest thing. And like the real bad guys in this country are never going to trigger those because you have no intimate relations with these people. They live behind the fucking behind the walls, and they live like geographically right amongst us, but because of the huge technological wall that money presents, might as well be in a different dimension from us.
Behind the green door. That's where they live. Behind the green door.
The only way that like any executive will be killed in America, any like real executive, not for like a vitamin company, that doesn't count, but like a real executive who makes like 7 to 8 figures is for like, making a woke TV show.